This is not, I disallow this question. I move to the next question. I disallow and I move to the next question. MP Mohamed.
B 330.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall reply to this PQ. With regards to part A of the question, I am informed by the new Social Living Development Limited and SLD that 200 housing units are being constructed at Mount Albert, out of which 192 units are of row type, that is ground plus one, and the remaining 8 units are of duplex type, consisting of ground floor only. I am tabling the layout plan. As regards to part B, I am informed by the NSLD that each unit of the row type, that is ground plus one, is of a carpet area of 60 meters square, comprising a ground floor of carpet area of 32.03 meters square, consisting of an open plan living/dining room and kitchen, and B, a first floor of a carpet area of 27.97 meters square, consisting of 2 bedrooms, a toilet, and a bathroom. Mr. Speaker, sir, each of the 8 duplexes is of a carpet area of 55.6 meters square, comprising of the following: 1, an open plan living/dining room, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and toilet and bathroom.
Yes, yeah, the minister is not the substantive minister, so I would just point out that the 192 units do not have a bedroom on the ground floor. So it's a matter of concern, because when those owners get old, they will probably have disability, maybe, so they won't have a bedroom on the ground floor.
Let the minister reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I think the honourable member should address more clarification to the substantive minister, because I have not visited the housing at Mount Albert, and I'm not in position to answer the question of ground floor and ground plus one.
Next question, MP Boda.
Thank you. B331, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, there are presently no repair works being carried out at Réunion Government School. In June 2023, the following repair works were carried out at the school: the replacement of damaged profile roofing sheets, treatment of leakages, replacement of false ceilings, general internal painting, replacement of gutters, pigeon-proofing works, provision of new burglar proofing, rendering of front boundary wall, fencing works. I am also informed, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a new classroom block and 2 toilet blocks were under construction, but works have been suspended as the contractor has left the site without completing the works. The Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development is taking actions to award contracts for completion of the outstanding works under its framework agreement.
The Honourable Minister, when did the contractor leave the site?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the contractor left the site in September 2023.
So the Honourable Minister will agree that it has been almost now 6-7 months, and the site is a construction site within a school. So may I ask the Honourable Minister to take some urgent measures so that the children can attend school in the best condition? And in the meantime, whether some sort of a sanction can be taken against the contractor and a new contractor be designed to finish the works.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the area has been hoarded, and on top of that, there were discussions between the MNICD and the contractor. That's why it took some time. But since no solution was found, so it was decided to terminate the contract and to award new contracts through the General Framework Agreement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the school the area has been hoarded out so that students can go to school without any problem in the remaining part.
Next question. Next question.
B332.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the Central Water Authority has a pipe replacement project for some 7.5 kilometers in Morcellement-Chazal, Albion. Due to leakage and frequent bursts along certain pipe stretches, the water supply in the aforementioned region is greatly disrupted. A total length of around 7.5 kilometers of asbestos cement of 75 millimeter diameter pipes has been identified for pipe replacement in order to improve water supply and water quality in the region. The project is being undertaken in 4 phases. Phase 1 involves the renewal of approximately 1.9 kilometers of 110 millimeter diameter HDPE pipelines at Capitaine Avenue, Dauphin Avenue, and Morsoin Avenue, as well as laterals at Morcellement, Chazal, Albion. Phase 2 of the project involves the renewal of approximately 1.9 kilometers of 110 millimeter diameter HDPE pipelines at Espadon Avenue, Marlin Avenue, Cordonnier Avenue, and other laterals in Morcellement-Chazal. Phase 3 of the project concerns the renewal of some 2 kilometers of 110 millimeter diameter HDPE pipelines at Mulet Avenue, Barracuda Avenue, Sard Avenue, and other laterals in Morcellement-Chazal. Regarding the 4th phase, which concerns the renewal of pipelines at Avenue Baleine, Avenue Empereur, Avenue Bonite, Avenue, and other laterals in Morcellement-Chazal, the contract is currently at tender stage and is expected to be awarded by the end of May 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed that for the 3 phases, the contract was awarded to Quality Builders Limited in October 2023. The contract sums, start dates, and completion dates are as follows. Phase 1, the total sum of 8,732,041.60, with start date being 10th of January 2024 and expected completion date 30th June 2024. Phase 2, in the total sum of 8,946,415 rupees and 59 cents, with start date of 10th January 2024 and expected completion date 15th June 2024. Phase 3, in the total sum of 8,877,245 rupees and 68 cents, with start date 10th January 2024 and expected completion date 30th May 2024. With regards to Part C of the question, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Central Water Authority that road reinstatement at Morcellement-Chazal, Albion, including Barracuda Street involves permanent reinstatement of roads with asphaltic concrete over the trench width, with a 300 millimeter cutback after completing pipe laying works. Full width reinstatement will be considered by the Central Water Authority based on the extent of road damage during excavation and is handled on a case-by-case basis. I am informed that pipe laying works at Barracuda Street is expected to be completed by 15th of May. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Monsieur le Président, mes collègues Rajesh Bhagwan, Karen Foukoun et moi-même avons été stupéfaits par l'ampleur
Wait.
des...
Wait, I am talking, I'm on my feet. Can you wait? Supplementary questions are meant for clarification. Come with a clarification, you listen, you heard the reply of the minister, pick a point from there, ask for clarification, that's all. Don't make a speech.
Oh, it's not a speech. I'm going to ask for clarification.
Not
but
I am going, ask directly. I want to hear you asking.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I need to introduce...
No, I'm asking you to put your question, your clarification question directly.
Incroyable. Monsieur le Président, l'honorable ministre est sûrement au courant que les dégâts causés par les pluies torrentielles ont aggravé la situation au niveau des routes dans cette partie d'Albion. Peut-on savoir s'il y a eu un survey qui a été effectué parce qu'il nous a donné des dates pour compléter les travaux? Est-ce que c'est les pluies torrentielles qui ont davantage causé des dégâts aux routes? Est-ce que ne pense-t-il pas que le completion date va être repoussé?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the main question doesn't at all relate to torrential rain in that region. Therefore, I don't have that information with me. But
Okay, let's move to the next question. Honorable Abbas Mahmood.
Yes, B333.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that in line with the Government Programme 2020-2024, the Forestry Service of my ministry has reinforced the restoration of our forest with a view to greening Mauritius and thus contributing to our soil conservation, carbon storage and sequestration, and improving air quality, among others. In this respect, several initiatives have been undertaken, and these include provision of more than 75,000 plants free of charge to public and private institutions under the National Tree Planting Campaign so as to embellish our environment and increase our tree cover, and also for the implementation of reforestation projects, including social forestry activities during the last 5 years that has resulted in the creation of the Bel Air mini forest, where 1,350 plants were introduced on 0.83 hectares of land, La Prairie mini forest with 309 plants introduced on 1.2 hectares of land, the Grande Rivière Northwest peri-urban forest, which covers an extent of 0.9 hectare, the Malenga mini forest, which is over an extent of 0.1 hectare, Pagiometric Virginia, with 2,005 plants introduced on 3 hectares, the Bimanic Remembrance Forest, over an extent of 9.2 hectares, the Plaine Sophie Forest, where 19,000 plants were introduced over an extent of 4 hectares of land, and also the rehabilitation of part of Signal Mountain, with 900 plants introduced over 1 hectare. Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to these initiatives, for every tree felled on state lands or road and river reserves in view of development projects, the Forestry Service imposes the plantation of thrice the number of trees removed. this is being strictly monitored by the Forestry Service with a view to ensuring that any loss of tree cover is adequately compensated for. Mr. Speaker, sir, besides the above, the Forestry Service has also established dedicated bee reserve zones within the existing forest areas of La Ferme and Bradou, and where some 800 additional melliferous trees have been planted. About 75 beekeepers have been allowed to undertake beekeeping activities in these bee reserve zones and earn their living through honey production. As a result of the above, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Forestry Service is today actively managing some 180 hectares of forest land, and side by side, the National Parks and Conservation Service, which is mandated to restore and conserve native forests within the national parks and special reserves, has on its part engaged in the management of some 798 hectares, representing an increase of some 5 hectares for the period July 2023 to date. Initial weeding is being also undertaken in areas where no maintenance or conservation works was carried out previously. I wish to inform the House that as at date, a total of 215 hectares of land under conservation is being continuously maintained by the National Parks and Conservation Service.
Speaker, can the Honourable Minister inform the House the type of plant and perhaps the name of the plant being planted in these areas that he elaborated?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as far as possible, we try to encourage the replantation of native plants because they are more conducive for this environment, and also they're not, like you said, invasive plants. So as far as possible, we go for native plants.
Yes, B334.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in its report dated April of this year, the National Human Rights Commission recommended the possible setting up of a specialized court and I quote from the said report, Mr. Speaker, sir, at page 6 thereof, I quote, consideration could be given to the setting up of a drugs court for speedy trials of drug traffickers who are tried under the Dangerous Drugs Act, end of quote. I reiterate the fact that this report has been transmitted by the Human Rights Commission to His Excellency the President of the Republic pursuant to Section 11 of the Protection of Human Rights Act under cover of a letter dated 29th of March of this year. So I wish to correct what I said earlier, April, in fact it's 29th of March 2024. I mean to say by that, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this recommendation has very recently been made. We will need time to study the implications of this recommendation. Government will also need time to consult the stakeholders and in particular the judiciary. However, I wish to highlight that this recommendation should not be taken in isolation. We should also consider the fact that government has enacted legislation to create the Drug Users Administrative Panel, which has very recently started its work. With the operation of the DUAP now, we will see a number of cases which were previously going into the criminal justice system will now be going to the DUAP. We should let the DUAP reach its cruising speed and then assess the situation once again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir.
Any clarification?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. As mentioned by the Honourable Minister, in the report, several countries around the world have adopted specialized court like in Mauritius, we also have family division, fine and commercial division, even land division in our Supreme Court. So therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, will he agree with me that a specialized court with its specialized own forensic laboratory will reduce the delays to complete investigation as quickly as possible?
No. We should, no. I humbly beg to disagree. We should not mix the inquiry with the court. The court is there to adjudicate. The inquiry is something else. We do appreciate the fact that the Human Rights Commission, the National Human Rights Commission, has made this proposal, but we will need to look into it very specifically. I reiterate what the Human Rights Commission has said. Consideration could be given for the setting up. It's not like a formal proposal. I reiterate what I said. With the DUAP, we will see a reduction in number of cases going to court, because that is the purpose of the DUAP. And in fact, the Human Rights Commission itself says at the same page, at page 6, I quote, "The drugs court would also work in close collaboration with the DUAP. This would result in a decrease of the number of drugs offenders sent to prison," end of quote. So we should let the DUAP reach cruising speed. It has just started its work a few weeks ago, and then we will assess the situation a bit later in the course of the year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clarification.
Yeah, no, of course, it's inquiries that takes the time, but it is also, the court also takes time very often to give conviction. It's not only, no, I'm not finished.
No, you said
no, I have not yet asked my clarification.
Yes, clarification.
Yes. It's coming. You don't have to stop me each time.
But also
it's coming.
The court takes time, so the minister has to reply. Let the minister reply. Minister?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I can only reiterate what I have stated earlier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, I think the Honourable Member has not understood what I've said. I think the Honourable Member should have a very careful analysis of the criminal justice system in this country.
What is happening? What is happening? You put a question. No, you already put your question. You keep quiet. Please, walk out. Walk out, please. Please. Please leave the house. Leave the house. Leave the house. This is not the way to talk to a speaker. This is a very bad manner, bad parliamentary manner to talk like this. Please, leave the house. So we move to the next question.
B335.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to the number of cattle expected to be put on sale, I am informed by the Ministry of Agro-Industry and Food Security that around 6,500 live cattle would be required for Eid ul-Adha Festival 2024. The said ministry has issued permits for the importation of 6,771 cattle. As at the 5th of May 2024, 5,346 cattle from South Africa have reached Mauritius, and an additional 1,425 cattle are expected to reach Mauritius as from the 3rd week of this month. All the animals which have reached Mauritius have been checked as per established protocols by the Ministry of Agro-Industry and Food Security and found to be clinically healthy. The cattle are currently quarantined at Saint-Martin. It is also noted that some 758 cattle may be made available from local production in Mauritius and Rodrigues. As regards the price of the cattle, the retail selling price of imported live cattle for the forthcoming Eid-ul-Adha 2024 festival has not yet been fixed, and my ministry has already initiated appropriate actions for same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, the number of live cattle required is around 6,500, you said. We have already 70% in stock since a week. What are you and your ministry waiting to fix a price if you already asked the importer a costing for their importation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a process involved for the fixing of the retail price. We are still waiting for the necessary documents from the importers, that is the bill of entry, the invoice, the bill of lading. And I want to reassure the honourable member that we are still in the normal time frame, and appropriate action have already been initiated. And yesterday itself, my ministry has sent a reminder to the importers. We are urging them to submit all the necessary documents so as we can. This will enable us to fix the price.
Your Speaker, can the Honourable Minister inform the House of methodology used to fix the price of live cattle during Eid-ul-Adha?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the processes involved for the fixing of retail selling price of imported live cattle are, firstly, companies which have received an import permit from the Ministry of Agro-Industry and Food Security for the importation of live cattle meant for the Eid-ul-Adha festival submit their preliminary information, that is the bill of entry, the invoice, the bill of lading, for preliminary analysis by the ministry. Secondly, in order to verify documents submitted by importers, data on importation of live cattle is requested from the Customs Department to know the quantity imported and the costs, insurance and freight. Thirdly, the views and advice of the Ministry of Agro-Industry and Food Security and the Mauritius Meat Authority are sought on the costing submitted. Fourthly, final costing of live cattle are submitted by importers, and same is examined and verified with relevant documents such as bill of entry, invoices, bill of lading and freight documents. Fifth, the Interministerial Committee meets with importers to negotiate the retail price and an agreement is reached on the price to the satisfaction of all parties. And lastly, Cabinet is informed accordingly, and the retail price of live cattle is fixed by way of regulations, few days prior to the Eid-ul-Adha festival and the following 2 days after the ceremony.
MP Labine.
B336, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius is since 2001 a contracting party to the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, also known as the Ramsar.
Can you stop with a question? I heard you said shame. Do you maintain that word?
Shame?
Yeah. You said shame towards me. Do you maintain it?
I said...
Or you apologize, you withdraw the word?
I withdraw.
You withdraw. So, Honorable Juman withdraws the word and he apologizes.
Happy?
What did you
I
say?
withdraw.
And apologize.
Apologize for what?
You don't want to apologize?
I said I withdraw.
Withdraw and apologize.
Okay. If that
Honorable
make you happy...
Juman withdraws and apologizes.
Okay.
MP Labine.
336, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius is since 2001 a contracting party to the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, also known as the Ramsar Convention. The Ramsar Convention, which inter alia provides for the conservation and wise use of wetlands and their resources, requires contracting parties parties to include wetland conservation considerations in their national land use planning. In view thereof, my ministry contemplated the introduction of a wetland bill. I must admit, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the preparation of the bill has taken quite some time due to circumstances beyond our control, namely the inherent complexity of the matter, the challenges it represents with regard to environmentally sensitive areas found on private properties and preventing development of same, thus depriving owners from their legal rights, and also conservation of ESAs, which is no easy task, taking into account that we are a small island developing state with very limited land resources. We have also the difficulties in drawing a proper inventory of wetlands due to the fact that wetlands are dynamic systems that influence and are influenced by a complex range of environmental factors and are also affected by various processes such as climatic, hydrological, geological, biological, and human influences. Another constraint is the development already been undertaken on ESAs or backfilled, and Mauritius does not have the necessary competencies to address those issues, and as such, the services of foreign consultants had to be hired to work on the bill. As at date, Mr. Speaker, sir, a draft wetland bill has already been prepared, and same will very soon be released for wide consultation. The services of a consultant will again have to be enlisted to evaluate and advise on comments and views to be received from the consultation and whether it would be retained for consideration. After the finalization of the document, same will have to be vetted by the Attorney General's office. And I must say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this process will be quite lengthy and entails several implications. In the meantime, the bill is being prepared and ready. Mr. Speaker, sir, applications for development near or on wetlands are being examined by the National Ramsar Committee, which falls under my ministry. The committee ensures the proper implementation of wetland management plans and facilitates coordination between stakeholders engaged in wise use and conservation of wetlands. Non-compliant development are being dealt or handled by local authorities under the EPA as amended in June 2023. Same will be reinforced with the coming into operation of the Environment Bill 2024, which also caters for the management and protection of environmentally sensitive areas, including wetlands, which will facilitate the coordination amongst different institutions, as well as the establishment and updating of an ESA inventory and ESA maps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister, there was a consultant recruited by the UNDP, Mr. Peter Wolf. Can the Honourable Minister inform this House when did he submit his review of the first draft bill of the Wetland Bill, the first draft?
Well, indeed, Mr. Speaker, sir, there was one consultant by the name of Peter Wolf who was appointed at one time, and I must say that the idea of coming up with a wetland bin dates back to August 2003. So it's been 20 years now. And if I go through that chronological thing about this bill, there have been lots of consultations throughout the years, lots of views expressed, diverging views, legal issues that had to be considered, and that's one of the main reasons that has resulted in this bill not being able to be finalized. And like I said, now there is a draft which is again ready for consultation, and hopefully we'll have some kind of consensus on that, and hopefully we'll come to to this House for debates eventually when it's all set.
Next question.
B337.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that 12 educational buildings have obtained their fire certificates, and a total of 103 educational institutions have already submitted their applications for a fire certificate, while the remaining institutions are preparing themselves to submit their applications.
Minister, we have 286 educational buildings. As far back in 2017, the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services had informed your ministry to do the needful. So far, only 12 out of 286. How soon will our educational buildings be equipped with and be compliant with fire prevention and fire safety requirements?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I've just mentioned, it's a process which is ongoing, and right now, 77 institutions have already undergone fire drills, and we are expecting that by the end of August 2024, all the institutions would have gone through fire drills. Furthermore, we have already ensured that all the schools have safety signagers, fire extinguishers, and we have occupational and health and safety officers posted at the ministry who go and follow and do the follow-up with the institutions concerned.
Honorable Minister, so this means that many of our institutions, we are talking about educational buildings, we are talking about staff and students, which are not following Section 75 of the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2005 so far.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've just learned that a number of institutions have just got their fire certificates, amongst which RTI, the institution where the Honourable Member was himself the rector, has just got the fire certificate 2 weeks back.
Next question.
B338.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that sections 45 and 46 of the Sports Act 2016 make provision for two independent bodies in respect of dispute resolutions, namely the Sports Arbitration Tribunal and the Ombudsperson for Sports. Therefore, any aggrieved party should report cases of either discrimination or violence thereto. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Sports Arbitration Tribunal that neither cases of discrimination nor violence against women within national sports federations have been reported since 2019. Furthermore, I'm informed by the Ombudsperson for Sports that as at 19 April 2024, 2 cases of alleged discrimination against women within national sports federations have been reported. Thank you.
C'est un fait que les femmes sont moins nombreuses que les hommes dans le monde sportif pour diverses raisons. C'est les statistiques qui le disent. Donc, l'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire comment il a l'intention de protéger ces femmes qui s'engagent, qui osent s'engager pour le développement du sport mauricien contre toute forme de discrimination et de violence à leur égard, et qu'est-ce qu'il a l'intention de faire dans le cas le plus récent, dans une correspondance que j'ai reçue aujourd'hui, adressée à l'honorable Premier ministre et copiée à l'honorable ministre, entre autres, de ce groupe de 8 femmes de la Fédération de natation qui se disent victimes des agissements inacceptables et continus du président de cette fédération à l'égard des femmes, notamment de la violence physique, verbale et psychologique, et qui ont eu le courage de dénoncer ce qu'elles considèrent pire qu'une violation des droits des femmes.
Monsieur le Président, la réponse à cette longue question se trouve dans ce que j'ai dit déjà. Il faut que l'honorable membre puisse consulter le Sports Act 2016 section 45 et section 46. Et donc, j'inviterai les personnes qu'elle a citées à déposer une plainte, soit au Sports Arbitration Tribunal ou aller rencontrer le Ombudsperson for Sports pour déposer afin que nous puissions trouver une solution dans les cas que l'honorable membre a cités.
MP Boulel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. B-stroke free fall. Oh.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Metro Express Limited that for safety and security reasons, a communique was issued by the latter on the 30th of April 2024 at 13:14 hours to apprise the public that on Wednesday, 1st of May 2024, light rail operations would start as from 14 hours. In fact, the decision was motivated by the fact that several political meetings were scheduled concurrently at the same time at strategic locations, namely at Portrice, Rosehill, Saint-Jean-Quatre-Bornes, Vaqua and Q-Pip, which are all along the light rail corridor. It was therefore anticipated that a high number of people would avail of the Metro Express to attend those meetings. However, in view of the proximity of the gatherings near the light rail alignments, there were high risk that people trespass on the light rail tracks, thereby leading to potential injuries or even fatalities. Mr. Speaker, sir, additionally, there could be risk of hostility and confrontations between partisans of the different political parties when boarding and alighting the light rail vehicles at the stations, as well as the already crowded LRVs, which might have led to the damage of male assets, assaults on commuters and male staff who would have been working during that time. Mr. Speaker, sir, it has indeed been observed that after the meetings, many people were gathered at several locations close to the light rail corridor. If the light rail services were operational at that time, this could have effectively resulted in overcrowding at all the station platforms, as well as in the light rail vehicles. Given the safety risk associated in such complex situations, Mr. Speaker, sir, involving crowds of attendees along the alignment, as mentioned earlier, any erratic behavior resulting from these situations might have led to potential clashes, increase in physical confrontation, security issues to commuters and staff, as I just said, both alongside the alignment and stations. Mr. Speaker, sir, hence the decision was taken to delay the start of operations until 14 hours on the 1st of May, which was taken by the authorities, and this decision was solely based on safety, security risk identified above and the potential hostile environment that might have been created in the LRVs and at stations. As further safety measures, all overhead electrical lines were discharged along the alignment on the morning of the 1st of May. After assessing all these safety and security risks above, the public and the passengers were informed, as I just mentioned, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the 30th of April 2024 through a communique issued by MEL regarding the change in start of metro operations.
Honourable Minister, whether it was deliberate, knowing that the Labour Party and its alliance have attracted a huge crowd, notwithstanding that, you know, what you did went against the wishes of the electorate.
Mr. Speaker, sir, can I answer that?
Order.
Let me answer the question, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, firstly, I'm really stunned that after having harshly criticized the implementation of the Metro Express project, and for long, and even publicly announced after COVID that government should put an end to this project of Metro, now members of the opposition are feeling aggrieved on the non-operation of the light rail. Aster Metro. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, this demonstrates without any ambiguity that members of the opposition have now acknowledged that the light rail transit system is an essential and the preferred mode of commute of our citizens, and that the Prime Minister and government were right to introduce such a system in Mauritius. Now, to answer the question of the Honourable Member, the Honourable Member and members of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, after the 1st of May, have been using this argument of the non-operation of the metro to justify the dismally disappointing crowd at Port Louis. A crowd in Port Louis which amounted to 6,000 people. 6,000 people, which they mobilized in spite of all their sustained, expensive campaign they organized for the 1st of May. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, if I use the reasoning of the Honourable Member, logically, I can argue also that the meeting at Vakwa, that was organized by the Government Islands, has also been penalized. Because the metro station in Vakwa is near the place where the meeting was held. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we were allowed to convey our partisans to Vakwa, it means that this crowd of 30,000 people in Vakwa would have increased to 35,000 people.
So, honourable members, this question has been sufficiently canvassed. Too much politics. We move to the next question.
B343.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Central Electricity Board that Metro Express Limited has 35 registered live accounts with the Central Electricity Board as at 30th April 2024. The accounts are in respect of traction power substations, passenger stations, and the Eben Recreational Park. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to parts A and B of the question, I am advised that it would not be in order to disclose this information as it pertains to a client account.
So we moved, first of all, the table has been advised that PQB 341, 349, 368, 376, 377 have been withdrawn. We move to the next question.
Yes, PQ B345.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with a view to modernizing the public sector accounting, Government has embarked on a gradual implementation of the accrual-based International Public Sector Accounting Standard, that is the IPSAS, with the main objective to improving transparency, accountability, and decision-making through the preparation and publication of financial statements benchmarked with international standard. As per Section 132, 1A of the Local Government Act 2011, as subsequently amended, financial statements are being prepared under the IPSAS, which is combined with the annual report of the Council under accrual basis. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Municipal City Council of Port Louis that according to the last annual report prepared by the financial year, prepared for the financial year 2022-2023, there was an operational deficit of 294,146,166 rupees, which include non-cash items such as depreciation, increase in provision for doubtful debt, and vested assets. For depreciation, as per IPSAS 17 on property, plant and equipment, Council has to depreciate the asset which is treated as an expense in the statement of financial performance, that is a profit and loss. Depreciation charge for the financial year 2022-2023 is 562 million. Regarding increase in doubtful debt, as per IPSAS 19, Council is required to reassess and adjust on a yearly basis the provision made for all its receivable debtors and outstanding debt. The increase in provision made is treated as expense in the statement of financial performance. For the financial year 2022-2023, the increase in doubtful debt is 5.8 million. Concerning vested assets are vested to local authorities by third party, namely NDU. These assets are recognized by the Council in the fixed asset register, and it has an impact on the statement of financial performance as a revenue item. For the above three non-cash items, there has been no cash transaction that is movement for the Council. Accordingly, following a reconciliation exercise that is after adjusting for this non-cash item, the Council has an operating surplus on a cash basis of 198 million rupees.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that in my mail, in my original question, I asked for financial situations for each municipal and district councils, which is what I asked in my mail for the question which I sent to the clerk office. I never asked for Port Louis. So how can there be, I get the answer for only Port Louis?
So the question of sub-editing goes to the clerk's table, clerk's office, and any question about any change or anything about questions should be dealt with the speaker privately in his office, not in the open air like this. So I move to the next question. MPU Tim, is that
B346. Mr. Speaker, sir, the composition of the Department Bid Committee, DBC, comprised a Deputy Permanent Secretary as Chairperson, Procurement and Supply Manager, Principal Financial Operations Officer, and a Director of Pharmaceutical Services as members.
Following the award of the contract, the chief pharmacist has been suspended. May I know if any members of the Department Bid Committee which approve the contract for the supply of Molnupiravir has also been suspended, or are they still in operation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, there are inquiries ongoing at the Financial Crimes Commission, as well as there are cases lodged in court. I'm not in a position to give further information on this matter.
Your ministry.
Even
I'm not talking
then,
about the police inquiry, I'm talking about your ministry. Factually, has anyone been suspended or not? So either yes or no.
what's been in the public domain you are all aware of, I will not be able to give any further information on this matter, Mr. Speaker.
So we move to the next question.
B347.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to draw the attention of the House that the Director of Audit had sampled 39 projects, out of which he made observations on 6 of them, and the major problems noted were with respect to inadequate supervision and monitoring of projects, late handing over of site, poor quality of workmanship, suspension of work by contractors, and the award of contracts to contractors notwithstanding their previous poor performance. The projects identified were as follows: delays in construction of the Technical Training Center of Vallon, the construction of swimming pools, the upgrading of science labs and specialist rooms, the suspension of construction work at the New Ramsunda Prayag State Secondary School and the Réunion Road Government School. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the construction of the Technical Training Center at Bouvalon has been completed and inauguration was held on the 2nd May 2024. At the end of April 2024, 42 out of the 58 specialist rooms have been completed. 8 are ongoing, 5 at the design stage. The construction of 1 swimming pool has been completed, while 2 others are ongoing. Tender documents are being prepared by the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development for the 4th one. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry has initiated actions for the upgrading of the science labs requiring an uplift. As regards the construction of the new Ramsunda Prayag State Secondary School, the MNICD has already submitted bidding documents for completion of the outstanding works for launch, and the Procurement Policy Office has been informed about the contractor's non-performance. As regards the Réunion Road Government School, action has been initiated for the MNICD to award contracts for completion of outstanding works under its General Framework Agreement.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. You rightly quoted from the Director of Audit report, and you rightly mentioned there was inadequate supervision and monitoring of capital projects by the Infrastructure Monitoring Unit of the Ministry. Will you inform the House what measures have been taken so that there is appropriate supervision and appropriate monitoring of capital projects under your purview?
Mr. Speaker, sir, in a former reply given to the Assembly last week, I had mentioned that the Ministry of Education, along in collaboration with MNICD, do carry out monitoring of projects. However, we have set up a unit at the Ministry known as the MIU, the Infrastructure Monitoring Unit, and with the help of technical officers from the MNICD, we do carry out regular visits. And the PS responsible for the IMU is now monitoring the project works every week, in spite of the fact that a general monitoring is also carried out at the MNICD.
Question sufficiently canvassed. Next question.
8.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that my ministry was not involved in the recruitment of the new national coach of Club M. The issues raised in this PQ, therefore, do not arise.
Next question. Does not arise. The issue does not arise. Listen, the question of giving supplementary doesn't depend on Honorable Anchil or Honorable Amia or Amiamia or anybody. This is my prerogative. The minister has replied, the question does not arise. No! You don't have to discuss with me. You're discussing. Okay, please leave the House. You're discussing with the chair, disregarding my authority. You don't know your standing orders? Please. But I know mine, I know everything. I can teach you. Please, please leave the House. Before you get named, please leave the House. Next question.
B350.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that in view of reforming the local government framework, government had decided that a ministerial committee to be set up, supported by a technical committee, to examine and to make recommendation on, firstly, the local government reform in Mauritius, secondly, the advisability of creating additional municipal council, thirdly, the need to redefine the local government boundaries, fourthly, the advisability of holding local council action concurrently with or in the wake of general election, and fifth, any other ancillary matters. As at date, the Ministerial Committee has met on 2 occasions and the Technical Committee on 3 occasions. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the complexity of this exercise, which is time-consuming, it is too early for the committee to submit any recommendation at this stage.
Can the Honourable Minister tell us the composition of the Technical Committee and the Ministerial Committee?
The composition of the Ministerial Committee is as follows. The Minister of Energy and Public Utilities, who is the chairperson, the Vice Prime Minister, myself, the Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail, the Minister of Social Integration, Social Security and National Solidarity, the Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, the Attorney General, the Minister of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation, the Minister of Arts and Cultural Heritage, and the Minister of Public Service, Administrative and Institutional Reform. As far as technical committee is concerned, it is as follows. Number one, Dr. Kawal, who is a Senior Chief Executive of the Ministry of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management. He's a chairperson. A representative of the Prime Minister's Office, a representative of the Attorney General Office, a representative of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, a representative of the Municipal Council, a representative of the District Council, and other members as may be co-opted.
Next question.
B/351, please.
Monsieur le Président, le Covid-19 Solidarity Fund a été créé le 24 mars 2020 avec pour objectif principal d'apporter un soutien à la population dans son ensemble dans le contexte de la pandémie. Et cela notamment en finançant des projets, des programmes et des actions spécifiques visant à atténuer l'impact négatif de la crise de la Covid-19. Par la suite, à la période post-pandémique, le Covid-19 Solidarity Fund a été rebaptisé Solidarity Fund et ses objectifs ont été élargis pour inclure le financement de 3 programmes de protection sociale, à savoir la prime à l'emploi, le Cancer Treatment and Cancer Care Scheme et le programme d'aide aux boulangeries. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne les critères de déboursement des fonds pour les 3 programmes susmentionnés, je souhaite apporter les précisions suivantes. Premièrement, le programme de la prime à l'emploi s'adressait à l'origine aux jeunes âgés de 18 à 35 ans et aux femmes âgées de moins de 50 ans. Dans le dernier budget, le programme a été réformé et s'adresse désormais aux femmes et aux personnes handicapées âgées de moins de 62 ans et est payable pendant les 2 premières années d'emploi. Les employeurs sont tenus de préserver l'emploi d'un salarié pendant une période d'au moins 3 ans. Les critères d'éligibilité à la prime à l'emploi sont définis dans la Income Tax Act. Je suis fier de pouvoir vous annoncer que ce sont 6 024 individus qui ont bénéficié du programme, dont 5 497 femmes. La MRA a été chargée de recevoir et de vérifier les demandes et d'effectuer les paiements mensuels dans le cadre du régime. Permettez-moi de préciser que le Solidarity Fund ne verse les fonds qu'à la MRA. Monsieur le Président, deuxièmement, en ce qui concerne le Cancer Treatment and Cancer Care Scheme, il s'applique à tous les enfants qui sont citoyens et résidents de la République de Maurice, sont âgés de moins de 18 ans, souffrent d'un cancer ou présentent des symptômes suspects de cancer et suivent déjà un traitement pour une forme quelconque de cancer. Les soins des enfants ayant été diagnostiqués avec un cancer avant 18 ans sont également pris en charge après leur majorité. Le Child Cancer Cell a été mis en place au niveau de mon ministère pour assurer le suivi du programme, gérer les demandes et faciliter le déboursement des aides du programme en consultation avec le ministère de la Santé. Le ministère des Finances effectue les paiements aux hôpitaux privés après vérification et certification des factures par le prestataire de services. À ce jour, 46 enfants ont pu bénéficier du programme pour recevoir les soins à l'étranger dans les hôpitaux de pointe enregistrés auprès du ministère de la Santé. Ensuite, 70 enfants ayant été diagnostiqués avec un cancer avant la mise en place de ce programme bénéficient d'un suivi médical approfondi. Monsieur le Président, enfin, le programme d'aide aux boulangeries vise celles qui sont enregistrées auprès de la State Trading Corporation pour l'achat de farine de blé au prix spécial subventionné et qui produisent du pain. Pour rappel, le gouvernement fournit actuellement un subside de 2 roupies et 8 sous sur chaque pain maison, notamment au travers des subsides sur la farine, le diesel et une aide directe de 9 sous par unité. Sans ce programme d'aide aux boulangeries, le pain maison coûterait 4 roupies 68 sous l'unité au lieu de 2 roupies 60 l'unité aujourd'hui. Pour assurer l'implémentation de cette aide financière, la MRA a été chargée de recevoir les demandes et d'effectuer le paiement de la subvention. Le Solidarity Fund verse les fonds à la MRA pour le paiement. Monsieur le Président, en comptabilisant les 3 programmes d'aide susmentionnés, cela représente une aide financière pourvue par le gouvernement de 980 millions de roupies par an au travers du Solidarity Fund. Merci.
Very much, Minister, for your elaborate reply. To meet these set criteria and objective which you have elaborated, Minister, can I ask you that, and you'd agree with me, that the Solidarity Fund has to be placed and deposited in credible banks? Why is it that 3 billion out of the fund has been deposited in a bank which has no credibility and which is now under conservatorship?
Monsieur le Président, je peux assurer le membre qu'il n'y a pas de fonds de ce fonds de solidarité qui a été déposé dans une banque.
So, no issue, no question. Next question.
B352.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the question covers a period of 10 years, from January 2014 to May 2024. And during the said 10 years, I am informed that the STC has retained lawyers, both locally and internationally. Lawyers have been retained from India, Singapore, UK, and Mauritius in relation to various issues. Mr. Speaker, sir, the details are still being compiled.
Next question. MP Boda.
Yes, thank you. B353, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Mauritius Examination Syndicate that there are, as at date, 3,156 entries that have been received in respect of students taking part in Cambridge School certificate examinations for the second time. This exercise started on the 6th May and will last until 17th May 2024. As regard to the second part of the question, I'm further informed that the fees payable for year 2024 will be as follows. For 6 subjects, 15,699 rupees. For 7 subjects, 18,236 rupees. And for 8 subjects, 20,773 rupees.
I thank the Honourable Minister for the answer. In view of the fact that a majority of students did not get 4 credits and they are sitting a second time, and the cost of this second exercise, may I ask the Honourable Minister whether the government can consider some sort of a subsidy to the parents who are going to bear the brunt of it, because the least is 16,000 and at most it is 20,000, and it's a total burden on most of the parents.
Mr. Speaker, sir, for parents who are on this SRM register, the Ministry of Social Security pays the fees for a second attempt. And in fact, for the past 4 years, we have noted that there are around 8 million rupees which have been provided by Social Security to parents having their children sitting for a second time.
Honourable Minister, how many of the students fall under this category?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't have the figure, but it should be around, by looking at the fee, it should be, for the past 4 years, it would appear to be around 1,000.
And then ask the last question.
B354, please. Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, the practice of lodging provisional charges is very well established in our case law. In the landmark case of DPP against IOIB and Shanto, 1989, Mauritius Reports 110, our Supreme Court stated the following, and I quote, As everybody knows, a provisional information is entered when a suspect is arrested or is brought into custody. Its purpose is to bring the detention of the individual under judicial supervision and control so as to prevent an administrative detention and to enable a judicial authority to decide whether the detainee should be released on bail or not, and, if not, for how long he should be detained. No detainee pleads to a provisional information and no trial takes place. End of quote. In the recent case of Ramgoolam against the state of Mauritius and others, 2024 Supreme Court Judgment 113, the learned judge observed as follows, and I quote, "As is the cursus, the detainee is periodically brought before the magistrate until the striking out of the provisional charge, which may or may not be followed by the lodging of a main case, for the purpose of ensuring that his constitutional rights are being respected during his detention and that he is abiding by the conditions of his bail and appearing in court as and when required." End of quote. In that same case, the judge also highlighted the following, and I quote, "The case of Shanto is simply authority for the proposition that no evidence needs to be adduced at the stage of lodging a provisional charge. Of course, the police must act on reasonable or probable cause for arresting a person, and for the reasons for the arrest must be based on some evidence before the police arrests and deprives a person of his right of free movement and provisionally charge him." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the light of what I have quoted from our case law, there is no need to do away with the practice of provisional information, but there is a need to understand the rationale of provisional information and the use of powers of arrest. When it comes to, Mr. Speaker, so the final part of my answer, when it comes to the, as the question asks, the Police and Criminal Justice Bill, that is not to be found in the government program. I think the honourable member is referring to the previous answers given in this House. I wish to state that following a lengthy consultation on the then proposed Police and Criminal Justice Bill, we have not reached consensus on all the aspects of that bill. I, however, hasten to add that we have consensus on the need to codify some aspects of our law of evidence to bring it in line with the latest developments in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Clarification, no politics.
Elucidation. Yes, may I ask the Honourable Minister, now that we have got a new answer from what you have previously answered with regards to the introduction of the proposed Police and Criminal Justice Bill, so is it to say that now we will not have the introduction of this proposed bill in this House? There will be a new bill with a new name.
I wish to state very categorically, Mr. Speaker, so it's not a new answer. I have said the same thing a number of times in this House, that we have consensus on the evidence part of our law, where we need to bring reform. There are a number of subject matters like corroboration, like hearsay, etc. We have consensus on that. We do not necessarily have consensus among stakeholders on the criminal procedure aspect of our law. I don't know why honourable member persistently wants to call this bill Police and Criminal Justice Bill. We may change the appellation, the short title. That will come at a later stage. There has also been, I want to highlight, there has also been debate in this House from other members of this House, where it has been made very clear in this House that there is no consensus. I can give one example. The then Police and Criminal Justice Bill was contemplating the custody officer. Maybe the honourable member will recall. What would that mean? We are removing the control from a magistrate and we are going to give it to a police officer. There was no consensus on that, even outside the House, and in the House there was no consensus. I wish to perhaps draw the attention of the honourable member to the debates that have occurred here. This is why I reiterate what I said in my earlier reply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Matter is clear. Next question, MP Omia.
Monsieur le Président, comme le sait l'honorable membre, il n'y a pas de contrôle de change à Maurice depuis 1994. Ainsi, le marché intérieur des changes est libéralisé et il n'y a donc pas de limitation au transfert de devises étrangères. La Banque de Maurice m'a informé que depuis le début de la pandémie, elle est intervenue sur le marché national des changes et a vendu un montant total de 4,1 milliards de dollars. Cela a été fait pour atténuer la pression exercée par la crise de la Covid-19 sur le marché des devises. Sans le soutien de la Banque de Maurice, le marché national des changes aurait été dans une situation extrêmement difficile. Monsieur le Président, depuis le début de l'année 2024, les entrées sur le marché intérieur des changes se sont considérablement améliorées et sont maintenant au niveau d'avant la pandémie. La Banque de Maurice est en discussion constante avec les banques commerciales concernant le bon fonctionnement du marché des changes et tient des réunions régulières avec les trésoriers de toutes les banques commerciales par l'intermédiaire du comité des marchés financiers qu'elle a mis en place. Monsieur le Président, la Banque de Maurice m'a informé qu'elle n'a reçu aucune plainte de la part d'un individu qui n'aurait pas reçu de devises à des fins éducatives. En fait, une enquête menée par la Banque de Maurice auprès de toutes les banques la semaine dernière a montré que les besoins en devises à des fins éducatives sont satisfaits rapidement par les banques à condition que tous les documents nécessaires soient fournis. Merci.
You have a clarification?
I try to be clearer. I just wish if the Honourable Minister can ensure with local banks that what he has just answered to the House is conveyed to parents who try to send money abroad to their kids. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai écouté l'honorable membre et je tiens à lui rassurer parce que j'ai eu la même discussion avec le gouverneur de la Banque de Maurice pour que la Banque de Maurice intervienne pour qu'il n'y ait pas de pénurie de devises sur le marché.
Next question, MP Mohamed.
B357.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Municipal City Council of Port Louis that at no point in time the stallholders currently trading at Victoria Urban Terminal were instructed to vacate the premises at a specific location at the end of the 3 years lease agreement. In fact, as indicated in my reply to PQB 260 on the 23rd of April 2024, I wish to again inform the House that the traders initially operating on the second floor had expressed concern that they were having difficulties to market their products because the place is not visited by many customers. As such, decision was taken to shift them to vacate the stall on the first floor, provided that they were regular with the payment of their monthly rental. For those who were not consistent with the settlement of the monthly rental, a decision was taken to terminate their lease agreement, and they were given the option to be shifted on the first floor on the condition that they settle all their dues.
During PNQ of 28th November 2023, the Honourable Vice Prime Minister has replied that VSL is negotiating with other promoters to have other officers coming there as well, meaning at the Victoria Urban Terminal. Can I ask him whether it was referring to renting out of the second floor with potentially one government entity, which is the National Land Transport Authority, and that this same authority has requested additional space, and it is now being envisaged to rent out part of the first floor as well to that same entity?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the House that the National Transport, NSL, is not going to take any space international. Actually, we were negotiating with them at one stage, but they're not interested in it, and they're not going to take any space there.
Clarify.
Yes, as usual.
Additional question. Clarify.
As usual and related to the main question. So can I ask the Honourable Minister, therefore, that the ex-street vendors, ex-street hawkers who are now on the first floor are not going to be requested to vacate at all, even after their 3-year lease agreement have expired?
No, there's no question of vacating at the end of 3 years. I don't know where that comes from, but there's no question of that happening.
Next question. MP Antier.
B358. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by Le Monde Heritage Trust Fund that in regard to Le Monde Cultural Landscape World Heritage Site, an integrated management plan has been prepared by the fund for the years 2024-2028, and same has already been approved by its board. This new management plan is an integrated one and is built on the management plan of 2008. However, it is even more explicit as it addresses other issues such as land use and management, lagoon management, visitors management, and development of local economy around the site. For each of these issues, Le Monde Heritage Trust Fund is currently working on separate sub-management plans, which will, in the long term, better protect, preserve, and promote the outstanding universal value of the World Heritage Site. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed that the decision to prepare an integrated management plan encompassing land use and management, lagoon management, visitors management, and local economic development emanates from discussions with experts from UNESCO. This plan provides an overview of the broad recommendations regarding land, lagoon, visitors, and local economic development management. However, since some of these components, namely the land and lagoon, are natural features and are being subjected to more and more climatic changes and are beyond our control, these are taking time to be finalized. In addition, the preparation of the local economic development plan is a very complex exercise for which resource persons with appropriate expertise have been sought from UNESCO. A reply is awaited. Mr. Speaker, sir, in spite of these, since we have a commitment to submit the management plan to UNESCO in line with the recommendation of the World Heritage Committee, pending the finalization of the sub-management plans above, my ministry, in consultation with the board of the Le Monde Heritage Trust Fund, has agreed to submit the integrated management plan to UNESCO, as the plan is a holistic one incorporating in broad terms all components of the proposed sub-plans. The integrated management plan 2024-2028 will be submitted shortly to Cabinet for approval prior to submission to UNESCO.
Monsieur le Président, une clarification.
J'espère bien.
Oui, oui, comme d'habitude, Monsieur le Président.
J'espère bien.
Oui, voilà. Alors, Monsieur le Président, j'ai bien écouté la réponse du ministre. Et ça a pris quand même 2 ans et demi, Monsieur le ministre.
Non,
okay.
clarification. Hein?
Non, mais c'est un fait. C'est un sujet très sensible, directe. Monsieur le Président. On parle d'un management. On parle du management plan d'un site classé au patrimoine de l'UNESCO, la montagne du Morne. Je me souviens, le 9 novembre...
Non, mais là, vous allez... Non, this is not...
Alors...
You want me to teach you how to put a question? You don't know, you are a seasoned politician, MP, you don't know how to put a question?
Est-ce que le ministre, vu le retard de ce management plan qui doit être révisé tous les 5 ans, c'est celui de 2008 qui n'a toujours pas été révisé, est-ce que le ministre, il a parlé que le management plan sera soumis bientôt au Conseil des ministres? Peut-il clarifier le bientôt? Est-ce dans 1 semaine, dans 2 ans et demi encore, ou quand vous ne serez plus là? Enfin, dites-nous. Merci.
I don't... Minister.
I wish, Mr. Speaker, sir, to provide a reply. Le bientôt est très très bientôt. Actually very soon. And we're not referring to management plan dated 2008. We are talking about a very revised version of management plan 2024-2028. And Mr. Speaker, sir,
What is happening now? You see your language, you see how you behave.
the management plan definitely will be submitted to Cabinet très bientôt. But you will have to wait very long before being able to sit in government.
Wait, next question.
B363.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the guidelines and procedures for the approval of non-award courses were prescribed in October 2021 and have since not been reviewed.
Not be reviewed, okay. Next question, Mr. Otim.
B364.
Monsieur le Président, les données relatives à la dette du secteur public sont compilées, consolidées et publiées sur le site web de mon ministère sur une base trimestrielle à la fin du mois suivant chaque fin de trimestre. Les données consolidées pour la fin mars 2024 ont été publiées le 30 avril 2024. La dette du secteur public à la fin du mois de mars 2024 s'élevait à 524,7 milliards de roupies, soit 78,3% du PIB, dont le montant a atteint 669,9 milliards de roupies. Cela est inférieur à l'ancrage fiscal de 80% du PIB déterminé par le FMI. Sur ce montant, 126,1 milliards de roupies étaient libellés en devises étrangères et en termes de PIB, elles ne représentaient que 18,8%. Il convient de noter que la dette du secteur public en pourcentage du PIB a affiché une tendance continue à la baisse depuis son pic en juin 2021 à 91,9% en pleine crise de la Covid-19 jusqu'à 80,2% à la fin juin 2023. Les projections anticipent une baisse qui se poursuivra dans les prochains mois et années grâce à la stratégie de ce gouvernement. Le ratio dette publique PIB sera de 75% en juin 2024. En atteignant cet objectif, notre dette aura diminué de 16 points de pourcentage du PIB, parmi les meilleures performances au monde. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister have just given the figures of 524 billion rupees. Last year, during the budget, in his estimate, he estimated that the public sector debt would be 485 billion as at 30th of June 2022. So the public debt has actually increased almost 10% on what he had budgeted last year.
Monsieur le Président, je parle de l'année 2024 et l'honorable membre est en train de parler de l'année 2022. Je suis en train de faire une comparaison par rapport à 2021 où la dette est comparée avec le niveau du PIB où on était à 91,9%. Nous sommes en train d'adopter une stratégie pour baisser ce niveau de la dette par rapport au PIB. La dette en volume, l'objectif n'est pas de diminuer la dette en volume. Si on veut diminuer la dette en volume, Monsieur le Président, c'est que nous devons dégager des budgets en surplus. Ce qui n'est pas du tout l'intention du gouvernement parce qu'on utilise le surplus pour faire des développements. Un pays qui est un pays émergent doit continuer à investir pour poursuivre son développement économique. D'où notre stratégie de mettre 2 à 3 points de PIB tous les ans dans le développement d'infrastructures publiques, en particulier certains projets de développement, certains projets à caractère de dépenses en capitaux. Donc, nous n'allons pas avoir une baisse en termes de volume. La stratégie qu'on a adoptée, encore une fois, qui a été validée, quand nous parlons avec des institutions internationales, nous parlons en termes de pourcentage du PIB. À travers le monde, les pays continuent à emprunter pour continuer leur développement économique. Ce qui est important, c'est le taux par rapport au PIB. Et nous avons réussi, avec la stratégie que nous avons adoptée, à baisser ce taux pendant les 3 dernières années pour la ramener à un niveau qui est en dessous de l'ancrage fiscal. L'ancrage fiscal est déterminé par le FMI. L'ancrage fiscal, c'est le taux d'endettement qu'un pays peut supporter. Et ce taux est à 80% pour l'île Maurice. Donc voilà, nous sommes en train de continuer sur notre stratégie. Et oui, encore une fois, je le dis, en termes de volume, elle va continuer à augmenter parce que nous affichons tous les ans publiquement un déficit. Il n'y a pas de stratégie de baisse. Si les membres de l'opposition sont en train de prôner une baisse du niveau de la dette, cela implique que vous allez avoir des budgets en surplus, ce qu'on n'a jamais eu à Maurice pendant des décennies. Nous allons voir ce que cela implique. Cela implique que soit vous diminuez des dépenses en capitaux, dépenses d'infrastructures, des dépenses de développement, soit vous diminuez les dépenses récurrentes, ce qui implique soit des baisses concernant notre politique sociale ou concernant le salaire des fonctionnaires. Donc c'est cela que j'aimerais savoir de temps à autre de la part des membres de l'opposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Time over. Table has been advised that PQ B367, B69, B373 have been withdrawn.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business of today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. Motion. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Ayes have it.
Statements by ministers.
Statement, Minister Ganou.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall make a statement in relation to the extension of the free travel on board public transport to students attending special education needs institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the budget speech 22-23, it was announced inter alia that transport facilities would be provided to students attending special education needs institutions. In fact, given that the children attending such institutions which are registered with the Special Education Needs Authority, and being students like any other, they were, however, not being granted with a student identity card for the purpose of commuting freely in the public transport. In fact, the Road Traffic Bus Fares Regulations 2016 did not make any specific reference to such institutions, and there was a need to correct the said anomaly in order to allow those students to also benefit from free transport. My ministry is informed that there are some 2,300 students attending such institutions, and around 1,000 of them avail public transport in order to proceed to their respective schools and back. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to promote inclusiveness and in line with the Sustainable Development Goals and to remedy the unfairness meted towards such students, I am pleased to inform the House that relevant amendments are being made to enable these students to be eligible for a student identity card. As a result, students attending special education needs institutions will be able to commute in the public transport, such as buses and light rail vehicles, on the same footing as the students attending secondary and tertiary institutions. In doing so, Mr. Speaker, sir, we will alleviate the plight and burden of the parents whose children attend special education needs institutions. More importantly, we will make our transport system more inclusive, such that any student attending a registered educational institution is rightfully entitled to free transport. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we strive to modernize the land transport system, we believe that no one should be left behind, and we would pursue our efforts to make the public transport more accessible to our commuters. We strongly believe in enhancing the mobility of one and all, and we will continue on that trajectory. I thank you for your attention.
Public Bill, second reading.
Resumption of debate. All honorable as no.
Mr. Speaker, sir, from the beginning I would like to put on record that we on this side of the House fully support the Environment Bill and wish to congratulate Honorable Kavidas Ramanu for bringing this bill to the House. This transformative legislation represents a deep sense of responsibility and urgency. It is undeniable that our planet is facing unprecedented challenges, ranging from climate change to biodiversity loss. And it is incumbent upon us to take immediate decisive action and promote sustainable development. Protecting our planet is a global obligation to which this government, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Honorable Pravin Kumar Jagannath, is fully committed to. It is our solemn duty to safeguard our natural resources, preserve its biodiversity, and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. Mr. Speaker, sir, no country is spared when it comes to climate change and its related disasters. Whether a country is developing or developed, the effect of climate change can be felt anytime. Recently, we have witnessed the effect of climate change in countries like Dubai, China, and Brazil, amongst others. This environmental bill is a landmark piece of revised legislation construed to address the urgent environmental challenges we are facing, and it charts the course toward a more sustainable and resilient future. At its core, this environmental bill is a comprehensive framework designed to strengthen environmental protection, promote sustainable development, and climate change adaptation. It encompasses a wide range of measures aimed at safeguarding our air, water, land, and biodiversity, while also fostering innovation, empowering communities, and promoting environmental justice. As such, Mr. Speaker, this environment bill enumerates several bold provisions. First and foremost, this bill establishes stringent protection for our natural habitat, including forests, wetland, and marine ecosystem, so as to give due importance to biodiversity conservation, in accordance with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 15. It seeks to halt deforestation, restore degraded land, and conserve critical habitat for endangered species. Mr. Speaker, sir, in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6, access to clean air and water is a fundamental human right. The environmental bill enshrines this principle by implementing strict regulation to reduce air and water pollution, improve air quality standard, and ensures the availability of safe and clean drinking water for all communities. Furthermore, while embracing the principle of a circular economy, the bill promotes resource efficiency, waste reduction, and recycling initiatives. It incentivizes business to adopt sustainable practice, minimize waste generation, and transition toward a more circular and regenerative economic model. Additionally, environmental degradation disproportionately affects marginalized and vulnerable communities. The bill seeks to address this injustice by promoting environmental justice, empowering communities to participate in this endeavor, and ensuring that the benefits of environmental protection are equitably distributed. Mr. Speaker, sir, this environmental bill is indissociable to the Wakashu spill incident. This unprecedented disaster, which had national, regional, and international bearing, called for improved efficiency and effectiveness in our oil spill management system. This has to rest on an integrated and unified approach with clear institutional mandate for spill prevention, preparedness, early alerting, response, strategic crisis management, recovery, and rehabilitation. It is noted with deep satisfaction that the provision under Part 5 of this bill and the oil spill and environmental emergency, a strong linkage among different relevant legislation have been introduced, namely involvement of the National Crisis Committee and the Director General of the NDRRMC as per section 58.3f, 61.1, 61.2a, 61.2b, 61.3a, and 61.3b, amongst others. This provision will ensure that there is better coordination among various agencies at time of an oil spill. With this environmental bill, there is no doubt that our country will now be better prepared at governance, institutional, oil spill combatants and responders, private sector and community level to deal with oil spill situation. Mr. Speaker, sir, climate change is one, if not the biggest threat to future generation. And the implication cut across all spheres, that is environmental, socio-economic, and health, to name but a few. In the fight against the adverse impact of climate change, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Center has been part and parcel of the Climate Change Committee at the level of the Ministry of Environment and has been regularly reporting on the adaptation measures being undertaken with respect to the action relating to enhanced disaster preparedness and response mechanism and implementing risk reduction measures of the action plan of the nationally determined contribution. I wish to emphasize that the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Policy, a strategic framework and action plan 2020 and 2030 for the Republic of Mauritius comprise of 189 actions to be implemented by 20 different agencies up to year 2030. 24 of these actions that fall directly under the purview of the ministry responsible for the subject of environment. The action under the purview of the Ministry of Environment are grouped under three strategic objectives, namely disaster risk governance, disaster risk reduction, and preparedness, response, and recovery. The actions are mainly related to National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, environmentally sensitive areas, climate change adaptation and mitigation, combining adaptation with risk reduction. Climate change projects that also increase resilience to disaster, coastal rehabilitation programs through nature-based solution, EIAs, climate change impact on biodiversity and ecosystem, and interlinkages between DRRM and CCN environmental management and different sectors. With this environmental bill, the enabling environment is consolidated for the implementation of action forming part of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Plan 2020-2030. I will talk about another aspect which is again very important, Mr. Speaker, sir. This bill caters for the National Environmental and Climate Change Fund, which shows our country's commitment in building resilience through financial investment in disaster risk reduction activities, namely projects and programs and schemes relating to flood management and cleaning, rehabilitation and upgrading of drains, bridges, rivers, landslide management, and disaster risk reduction. I wish to highlight, Mr. Speaker, that a budget of 379 million and 429 million for the financial years 2022-23 and 2023-24 respectively have been allocated under the National Environmental and Climate Change Fund for the above-mentioned projects. Last but not least, I wish to again congratulate the Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, Honorable Kavidas Ramanu, for bringing this to the House such an important piece of legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, on this side of the House, again, we fully support this bill. Thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, environment sustainability for sound economic advancement and inclusive development is the guiding philosophy of my government. in steering the Republic towards a better future for the present and for future generations. In this respect, I have been leading by example by participating personally in cleaning campaigns, making public pleas in favor of a culture of cleanliness, and calling for responsible behavior in response to the challenges we are facing due to climate change. The Environment Bill 2024 espouses that same guiding philosophy and comes at a time when climate change is causing havoc across the world, making of environmental sustainability an urgent priority. Mr. Speaker, sir, while my government has been acting decisively and making of sustainability the pillar of our socio-economic strategies, our fellow citizens can see for themselves how the opposition has treated this most important issue on the world's agenda as a fait divers. The very fact that they had only one orator on the bill tells their whole story, which depicts their lack of seriousness, their systematic demagogical approach, and their endless contradictions. For them, what counts more is the abhorrent display of insult, provocation, bad faith, and frivolous attacks in this House every week. And I leave it for the population to judge. Mr. Speaker, sir, in government, we have been acting with foresight in the best interests of the country. Already in the government program 2020-2024, we mentioned that Mauritius aims at championing sustainability and a responsible investment policy to shape a cleaner and greener Mauritius, while at the same time mitigating risks from climate change. Our achievements so far are testimony to the degree of our commitment towards sustainability and to the seriousness and amplitude of our actions to protect the environment and foster a greener approach to socio-economic development. As members are aware, soon after we assumed office in 2019, we came up with the Environment Master Plan 2020-2030. The Mauritius Resilience Strategy was formulated in the same year, with the aim of adopting a reach-to-reef approach and promoting nature-based solutions. It aims at strengthening climate resilience by the mapping, updating, and mainstreaming of environmentally sensitive areas in the development planning process, namely National Development Strategy, Outline Planning Scheme, and the process for allocation of building and land use permits. A roadmap and action plan for a circular economy has been developed for the period 2023-2033 with the assistance of the European Union to support the transition from a linear economy generating dependencies and vulnerabilities to a circular and resilient economy. A national biomass framework has been formulated to increase bioelectricity production by promoting and implementing projects for more efficient use of sugarcane bagasse, more trash collection, introduction of higher fiber cane varieties, cultivation of other energy crops, and biomass import. This marks a decisive turning point in our strategy to eliminate the use of coal for electricity production by 2030. Additionally, biomass will act as a reliable energy base load, thereby ensuring energy security and sustainability. A solid waste management strategy and action plan has been developed we focus on resource recovery and recycling, with a view to moving from the linear extract, make, dispose model to a circular economy approach in the solid waste sector. My government is prioritizing resource recovery and recycling through the establishment of integrated waste treatment facilities, including composting plants and sorting units. A land drainage master plan has been formulated. It maps the flood-prone areas in Mauritius. As the House is aware, government has and is investing heavily on the construction of drains to address the problem of flooding in many localities. The drains already in place have proved to be very useful, as many places that were flooded in the past are no longer affected. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to address the social and economic challenges of climate change on the maritime borders of Mauritius and Rodrigues, an in-depth study on the hazards of coastal erosion and marine submersion is being carried out. The study will comprise assessment, analysis and mapping of hazards, coastal risks, and exposed assets. Its outcomes will serve as a tool for decision-making in our response to crisis in the coastal zone. I have requested that Agaliga be also included, as I have personally witnessed the degradation of the shoreline thereat during my last visit to the islands. In forwarding our sustainability agenda, government has initiated the greening of the public sector project by reviewing its day-to-day operations and services through the adoption of best practices towards reducing its carbon footprint and transitioning to a more ecological public institution. Since March 2020, all applications for environmental impact assessment licenses or approvals and preliminary environmental reports approval are made, processed, and approved online on the National Electronic Licensing System. Furthermore, new regulations have been promulgated, namely the Environment Protection Control of Single-Use Plastic Products, Regulations 2020, and the Environment Protection Banning of Plastic Bags, Regulations 2020, which have been instrumental in preventing an estimated 600 million single-use plastic products and plastic bags to get to our waste stream and pollute our environment. And the Environment Protection Amendment of Schedules, Regulations 2021, to cater for tougher fixed penalties for illegal dumping and littering. The Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change operates an on-call system on a 24/7 basis, including Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays, for prompt interventions in case of environmental emergencies. 8,905 contraventions have been issued by the Police de l'Environnement from December 2019 to 31st of March 2024. An e-service platform is operational since January 2023 for processing clearances and verification at ports under the plastic regulations. Interestingly, Mr. Speaker, sir, a research project being carried out by the University of Mauritius has indicated that biomass from banana fibers, pineapple leaves, and coconut leaves are promising alternatives for single-use plastic products. The National Environment Cleaning Authority, NECA, has been set up under my office with a clear mandate to upgrade, restore, and protect the environment of our island. The employees of the authority are regularly seen along our main roads and public places, undertaking cleaning and embellishment works. The difference is already felt, and I have no doubt that NECA will live up to the expectations of the nation. To keep the air quality under check, government introduced the Air Quality Index in September 2022. The relevant authority has been equipped with smoke detectors to address the problem of vehicle emissions. In the same vein, a study is in progress to review the criteria for stone crushing plants and crematorium and cremation grounds. A mobile application, Monatir, has been developed to impart vital and dynamic environmental information to the public. Since 2019, 314 rainwater harvesting systems have been installed in schools, public areas, and in places of worship around the island. 2 composting units have been constructed, namely at SMF Bakwa and Brado in 2023. 11,604 compost bins have been distributed from December 2019 up to March 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, government has increased its preparedness for oil spill response. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan has been reviewed and updated in 2023. The plan makes provision for strategies regarding cleanup and removal of oil according to the sensitivity of the affected area and monitoring of same to ensure cleanliness. Furthermore, government has initiated action to develop a lagoon water quality index to provide real-time information on the quality of water in our lagoons using state-of-the-art Internet of Things technology. A pesticide residue testing unit has been set up at the National Environmental Laboratory since 2021. This is enabling the systematic monitoring of pesticide levels, facilitating early detection and intervention to prevent environmental degradation. Moreover, a beach management plan is being implemented, and related projects have been successfully completed at Montchoisy, Belmar, and Ficanflac. The Beach Authority has acted on an initiative of my office to implement a regular cleaning program of our beaches and lagoons. Site-specific coastal protection and rehabilitation works are being implemented using mixed approaches and taking into consideration ecosystem-based management and nature-based solutions such as coral reef and seagrass restoration and mangrove plantation. And since 2019, some 5.3 kilometers of shoreline have been protected or rehabilitated at a cost of 400 million rupees. Such works covered coastal areas like Caisse-Noirial, Grand-Bay, Bejucap, and Pointe-aux-Feuilles to Anse-Jonché, amongst others. The replacement of casuarina trees by endemic trees and shrubs for the control of beach erosion has successfully been carried out at Belmar, Ficanflac, and Le Monde beaches. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are proud to have constructed the Katser Refugee Center under the Climate Change Adaptation Program in the coastal zone of Mauritius with this financial support of the Adaptation Fund through the United Nations Development Program. The center, which I inaugurated in March last year, is the first of its kind in the Indian Ocean. It provides an emergency shelter for exposed communities of the southeast coast of Mauritius during times of climate-related hazards and threats. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are also actively promoting sustainable fishing and sustainable agriculture. In the same vein, we are caring for our biodiversity, including marine biodiversity. Sustainability in transport has been another priority, and the implementation of the Metro Express project and incentives provided to promote the use of electric cars and buses have paved the way to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and our carbon footprint. Mr. Speaker, sir, adding to all those achievements, concerned authorities are carrying out sensitization campaigns to showcase the circular economy in practice, with emphasis on the 9 R's of circular economy, namely refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, repurpose, recycle, and recover. On the international front, I have personally been at the forefront to highlight the existential threat that small island developing states are facing due to the devastating effects of climate change. Speaking at the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP26 in Glasgow, I highlighted the damage global warming and rising sea level are causing to low-lying islands in particular. Indeed, SIDS remain the most vulnerable, yet the least polluting countries. I appeal to the international community to live up to its commitments and duty to provide SIDS with the necessary resources to fight climate change. I have reiterated that appeal at different international fora, including the United Nations General Assembly. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, sir, to demonstrate that we mean business with regard to decision-making in favor of environmental sustainability, I announce at the COP26 forum that Mauritius will aim at achieving 60% of renewable energy in its energy mix by 2030. Other targets comprise the phasing out of coal by 2030, as I mentioned earlier, increasing energy efficiency by 10%, and the diversion of 70% of solid waste from landfills in furthering our circular economy agenda. Mauritius is actively engaged in multilateral environmental agreements, underscoring its commitment to global environmental governance and sustainable development. Mauritius has adopted the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 global goals to ensure global sustainability. We have signed or ratified around 40 environmental-related conventions and protocols, including the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1994, the Kyoto Protocol in 2005, the Paris Agreement in 2016, and the Minamata Convention on Mercury in 2017. The Climate Change Act 2020 makes provision for the implementation of the obligations of Mauritius under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, and any other related instrument on climate change. I must also point out that while constantly making our voice heard on the international front, Mauritius has joined the High Ambition Coalition for collective negotiations of an ambitious treaty to end plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, after the enactment of the Climate Change Act in 2020 and the Waste Management and Resource Recovery Act in 2023, we now have the privilege to come up with yet another piece of important legislation that will lead us towards a more sustainable trajectory for enhanced protection, management, and conservation of the environment. The Environment Bill 2024 brings forth a reinvigorated legal framework that captures all environmental aspects that will allow our country to transition to a green and circular economy. Like I said before, the world is today facing unprecedented environmental challenges. Rising temperatures, deforestation, pollution, and loss of biodiversity threaten the delicate balance of our ecosystems, with major ramifications for small island developing states like ours. In fact, the Earth Overshoot Day, which marks the date within a calendar year when humanity's demand for ecological resources exceeds what the Earth can regenerate, has been receding at an alarming rate from 29th December in 1970 to 2nd of August in 2023. We all witnessed recently the images of unprecedented havoc caused by floods in Dubai. As such, no place in the world is spared from adverse climatic events. Mr. Speaker, sir, likewise, Mauritius is not spared from the devastating impacts on climate change, especially as it sits, and the more so, in view of our geographical location, as well as from our acts and doings. We have to acknowledge that in the process of development, land use has concurrently known dramatic changes with detrimental consequences on the ecosystem and bringing in its wake reduction in green cover. On the other hand, pollution, including plastic pollution, coastal degradation, oil spills, water accumulation during flash floods, amongst others, have contributed towards several challenges faced by the country, thereby hampering effective environmental management. The Environment Bill 2024 addresses those pressing issues in a coherent and balanced way. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me therefore congratulate the Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, firstly, for the preparation of such a comprehensive bill, and secondly, for the innovative measures being proposed to drive the environmental agenda in the next decade and beyond. Environmental governance being the concern of everyone, the bill establishes several multi-stakeholder platforms for a participatory decision-making process, leaving no one behind, while also addressing capacity constraints and weighing stakeholder needs against institutional requirements. To promote public accountability and trust, the bill makes it necessary for environmental assessments to be subject to public consultation. The setting up of the Observatoire de l'Environnement, along with the Science to Policy platform, will provide the public and the scientific community with opportunities to define the contours of policy decisions that would rest on scientific knowledge. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reintroduction of strategic environmental assessment testifies that government is committed to continue leading by example. Henceforth, public departments will have to mandatorily evaluate the cumulative environmental impacts in respect of scheduled undertakings, cutting across major sectors, including tourism, fisheries, energy, transport, waste management, water management, and bunkering, amongst others. Similarly, private sector endeavors having significant environmental impacts, such as smart cities and the development of thematic parks, will also be required to undergo strategic environmental assessments. The bill is introducing a mechanism to ensure better management and protection of environmentally sensitive areas, the ESAs, which will facilitate the coordination amongst different institutions as well as the establishment and updating of an ESA inventory and ESA maps. The conservation of ESAs will contribute towards nature-based solutions that conserve, sustainably manage, or restore ecosystems to address societal challenges while providing environmental, social, and economic benefits. Such solutions play a significant role in the implementation of the Paris Agreement. Mr. Speaker, sir, environmentally sensitive areas are vital and play an important role in our ecological system. To fill the gap in the legal and institutional framework regarding the management of ENCs, new provisions are being introduced to protect, conserve, restore, rehabilitate 14 ESAs such as coral reefs, islets, forests, mangroves, lakes, sand beaches and dunes, coastal freshwater marshlands, wells, seagrass beds, steep slopes, upland marshlands, caves and mudflats, rivers and creeks, as well as lakes and reservoirs in a coordinated and harmonized manner. Legal enforcement provisions are being streamlined and strengthened. Accordingly, enforcement powers in relation to environmental laws would be decentralized to some 12 enforcing agencies, thus empowering relevant public bodies to undertake enforcement and conduct prosecution at their end under provisions of the Environment Bill. To avoid lengthy prosecution and litigation processes and reduce enforcement costs, the compounding of offenses would constitute a novel mechanism whereby an offender would be given the choice to pay a fine instead of undergoing prosecution. Mr. Speaker, sir, last but not least, this government is demonstrating its forward-thinking approach by encapsulating in the Environment Bill new policy concepts to enable the Republic of Mauritius to forge its way to sustainability and the transition écologique. Accordingly, provisions have been made for the development of national policies, strategies and action plans on sustainable development and on circular economy, which shall be reviewed every 5 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to reassure the House that measures proposed in the bill would be thoroughly discussed with stakeholders at the implementation stage to ensure that concerns are adequately addressed. Mr. Speaker, sir, good environmental governance, bold government engagement, streamlining of current legal provisions, and forward-thinking policy concepts permeate all through the bill, making it a true modern legislative framework based on international best practices that adequately addresses environmental protection, management, and conservation. I do not wish to take the time of the House to expatiate on the different clauses of the bill, since the substantive minister has extensively explained the rationale behind every proposal contained therein. However, I will respond to a few of the remarks of the only Speaker of the Opposition, Honorable Mohammed. The Honorable Member realizes that the bill is forward-looking and visionary. He commended it. He added, and I quote, "The bill can be classified as one which will lead to a paradigm shift in environmental stewardship," unquote. Yet, he got swayed by the usual demagogical rhetoric of the opposition, which I denounced at the beginning of my intervention. Dared to mention the Maurice Île Durable project. What a joke. The nation knows it was only blah, blah, blah. Lots of talks and jobs for the blue-eyed boys of the Labour Party. Money was thrown down the drain. That is their culture, Mr. Speaker, sir. Regarding the criticism of the Honourable Member in relation to the Wakashu wreck and oil spill in our waters, I must say that the majority of our fellow citizens recognize that my government and the relevant authorities dealt with it diligently. Indeed, the oil spill was rapidly controlled to minimize the risk to the marine environment. I wish to inform the House that the recommendations made in the report of the Court of Investigations into the grounding of MV Wakashu are being addressed by government and stakeholders concerned. This bill also takes on board the recommendations of the report of the Court of Investigations into the grounding of MV Wakashu with regard to development of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan and its review every 5 years, the setting up of the National Oil Spill Coordination Committee, coordination between the Director of Environment and Director of Shipping, reporting to the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Center, oil companies providing inventory of their oil spill combat equipment and taking possession of these equipment during an oil spill, involvement of volunteers, and the polluter carrying out environmental compliance monitoring. The Interministerial Committee, under my chair, has endorsed these recommendations, and specific provisions have been made in the bill as follows. Clause 57 makes provision for a National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, NOSCP, to ensure that the Republic of Mauritius be at all times in a state of preparedness and or respond to any potential oil spill in a prompt, planned, and coordinated manner, and for the plan to be reviewed every 5 years. Clause 58 provides for the establishment of a National Oil Spill Coordination Committee, which will inter alia be responsible for reviewing and updating the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, ensure cooperation among public bodies dealing with oil spill incidents, coordinate the response to an oil spill, and make recommendations to the Minister on matters relating to pollution caused by the oil spill and advise on such policies and administrative measures as may be necessary in relation to oil spill contingency planning. Clause 59 provides for the Director of Environment to activate the NOSCP and coordinate the oil spill response in collaboration with the Director of Shipping. Clause 61, 1 and 2 have made provision for any person, including the owner of the spilled oil, to henceforth notify both the Director of Environment and the Director General of the National Disaster Risk and Reduction and Management Center in case of an oil spill, as well as on actions to be taken or proposed to be taken in relation to the oil spill. Section 62 makes provision for the Director of Environment to request the owner of the spilled oil to carry out inventory, submit list, and indicate location of the oil spill combat equipment in its possession. Clause 64 makes provision with regard to involvement of volunteers during an oil spill crisis situation. Volunteers would be allowed to participate in an oil spill mitigation and cleaning exercises, subject to prior authorization of the supervising officer from the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management, and Climate Change. Clause 65 makes provision for a person responsible for an activity, enterprise, or undertaking which causes an oil spill to carry out monitoring of the nature. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Mohammed also dared to question the Minister on his achievements. I believe the numerous achievements of my government, which I mentioned in my speech, have provided a resounding answer to him. Let me remind him that on this side, We are a team of achievers. We do not fool people. We keep our promises and we deliver in the best interests of the Republic. Mr. Speaker, sir, before I end, let me stress that our actions today will shape the world we leave behind. Beyond a piece of legislation, the Environment Bill 2024 is a commitment to our citizens, the country and the planet. As representatives of the voice of our citizens, let the bill be passed as a testimony of our environmental stewardship today, so that we can leave behind in legacy a cleaner, greener, and sustainable Mauritius. Let us stand united in our resolve to protect our priceless natural environmental resources. We owe it to our people and future generations. Thank you for your attention.
Honourable members, at this stage, I will suspend the sitting for half an hour.